How's it going, bros? My name is Divik, and welcome back into a channel update video slash Q&A. So about a month ago, I actually proposed, about on Easter time, an AMA where you ask me any questions and I answer them to the best of my ability, or, things of that nature. This was about a month ago, and then a bunch of stuff happened since then. So things have been a little bit hectic as of late. But with that said, we're in a position now to where I can actually answer these questions and, give you as detailed an answer as I can. So again, there was only 5. And, I'm going to answer them all. And also a bit of channel updates. So currently, and and if you're wondering what I'm looking at over here, my laptop is here, PC is right here. So I got the questions over here, and I got my laptop here, so I can look at channel statisticals and whatnot, things of that nature. So for channel updates, business as usual. We're sitting at 3,159 subscribers right now. That is incredible. You know, I'm still surprised. I'm still in shock. And by the way, the last reaction video, I don't know if you guys saw my comment that was pinned or anything of that nature, but I will be adjusting the settings here because obviously between my two devices, the laptop settings don't function very well with the PC. So I'm gonna have to finagle some things and figure some stuff out on that regard. So with that being said, the next reaction, which will be the rest of the episodes for the Cicada Codex, which I don't think I actually name dropped the actual name of the series in the first part. It is the Cicada Codex. I ended up just naming the channel instead, so oops. But as far as anything else, Ragnarok is around the corner. Cross your fingers. And of course, there's going to be a bunch of content on that, taking on the Ice Cave, the Lava Cave, of course. I'm going to take on both of those, fight the bosses, hunt down ice wyverns, all that stuff, tame the bison, and whatever else is on there. I will be using my PS5 for that and not my PC because it's going to be a lot easier. And plus, I have fantastic tames and all that stuff squared away over here rather than here, so why not? So with all that said, that's all I really have at the moment. There's nothing really all that new, by the way, with Paleo Arc right now. I'm just waiting for stuff. But if you want to see all that stuff early, become a donator. Information right there. But with that being said, let's get on with the questions. 3 minutes into this update video, so let's finally get into these questions. I'm actually going to click all the way from OBS here so I can actually look. So from Anarchy Gaming Nexus, what's your favorite upcoming project from the Paleo team? See, I talk about this with them all the time, actually, and here's the deal. Literally all of them that are currently in the pipeline, the ones I can talk about publicly are, of course, Aloe, Therizinosaurus, Bronto, and I believe Carno is actually public, so I can talk about that one. There's two in particular, that is donators only right now that I can't talk about, and I really want to. There's 2 of them, and I'm not going to say anything else other than that because it gets me excited. But, Elasmo is also another one. Impero and Ledu, I'm very excited to do videos on those 2 because, again, if you guys don't know, Imperosaurus and Little Mahadi, they are coming out for their own mod, which I believe is called Rulers of the Wasteland. And they are a duo of creatures that despise each other. So this is going to be very, very interesting seeing that because I don't think in Arc there is a dynamic like that at all. So this is something I'm very excited to see implemented and used, and hopefully more creatures can, exhibit these behaviors because we haven't really seen that in anything really. So this is actually super exciting. But yeah, all those guys, the ones Can't talk about, I'm very interested to see what how Evo Moses platform saddle functions, because I do recall that the movement is limited because of the functionality of the platform saddle. If I can find pictures, I'll put it on screen for you guys. But the platform saddle is something that I'm very interested in. Lasmosaurus, again, super hyped for that creature. Can't wait. That thing scares me already, and I haven't even, you know, played around with it yet. So that's going to be super exciting. And, it's just one of those things that there's a lot coming for Paleo Arc. And by the way, I will correct something that I said in my previous Paleo News video. Elasmosaurus is coming later. And if I recall correctly, Deps actually clarified it. I'll put his comment on screen. Had that backwards, sorry. But with that being said, let's move on now to Colonel Sanders, who was in like the comment section of all my Monster Hunter videos. So shout out to you, mister. This guy asked, what's a fandom, game, movie, book, etc. that is relatively unpopular and unknown, but you've always liked? Did I reply to that? Oh, okay, so someone replied, Sawyer Lee Dragon Slayer Codex. Nothing that I can really think of, actually, but I would say it is a beloved thing that not a lot of people actually play, and that's actually Exoprimal. I played a couple of, I did a few videos on it. Didn't do very well, unfortunately, but Exoprimal is a game that I very much enjoyed when I did play it, and it's interesting because I did see a video on TikTok that's like, oh, guys with shields are better than, da 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 da. And I left a comment saying, hey, Exoprimal, love that game, wish more people played it. And that is probably my most liked comment on TikTok of all time. I think I'll probably, if I can get it, I'll put it on screen. Over 1,900 likes. That is my most liked comment, I think, at all, aside from a video by Flexivelli. I believe that's how you say it, where he did like this Christian-based video with For Honor characters, and they were basically doing a jig. And he got to a point with Kensei, and Kensei was out of stamina, and it looked like they were doing a shuffle. So it's like, hey, that Kensei shuffle is everything. That's another comment that is very well liked, and I still get people liking that comment to this day. And that was like a year or two ago, I want to say. So, just a little bit of derailment, but speaking of, most liked comments, but I would say Exoprimal is definitely one. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything else other than that. But, something will probably come to me later after I've said Exoprimal and be like, oh, wait, this. But, yeah, I'm going to say Exoprimal for that. So next question by Caprasukis, 9391. Interesting name. I like that picture, by the way. Caprasukis. Really cool creature. What do you think ASA needs to improve its performance, its maintenance of its company, and overall health of the game? I'm a bit worried that Snail will actively try to mess up Wildcard thanks to their garbage ASA DLC, which could ruin the legacy of Arc permanently. Okay, so let's break this down by section. Okay, so what do you think ASA needs to improve its performance? Optimization, all right? And 5.5, I believe, and I think, very much did that. Now, I've played ASA since then on my PC and on my PS5. Both, and I'll put on screen a video I took of just the Cove Beach area on the center. I took a video, very brief video, of the ocean. So on that little cove with the beach behind Blue Ob Island, I took a video there, and the water and everything else just looked gorgeous, like beyond beautiful. And I was actually very impressed with which is why I took that video in the first place, because I was just building with the new materials, the thatch corner pieces, et cetera, et cetera. I was just making a build real quick just to see, what it's like. And by the way, I will show that off eventually in a video, by the way. And it looked really, really good. Now, as far as its maintenance of its company, I think Wildcard as an entity unto itself is fine. It's just a lot of times it is literally just the fan base being a snot. In fact, the donators and I were actually on about this earlier, because this is tying into my previous video about toxic fandoms. Check that out if you haven't seen it. There is seriously people sending Dolly unalive threats over the smallest things, like them taking days off for release of things, knowing there's a good chance that said thing will be delayed. Y'all do realize this has been a thing for years, right? And I'm purposely leaning in so you guys can make for the emphasis here. And you know what? I literally don't do that because there's a good chance that XYZ thing will be delayed. So why would you set yourself up for failure if you know there's a good chance of delay? If it comes out on time, which by the way, they've done that successfully like 3 or 4 times, why would you bother if you know there's a good chance of it being delayed? But rant aside, I think Wildcard itself is doing fine with the 5.5 update and them rolling out updates as quickly as they did to try to fix what 5.5 broke is really, really good. CurseForge is doing the best they can. I believe it's Overwolf is also helping out, and Wildcard unto themselves are rolling out a lot of patches for all platforms to fix the problem. And I think they're doing very, very well. I think I said in a previous video, I can't really get mad at them because I don't think they really foresaw everything breaking in the way that they did, but knowing what we do now, hindsight being 2020, if ASA was, I think I said this in the other video, if ASA was literally just a graphics upgrade of ASE, it more than likely would have been far worse than what it was. And I'll take what we had with this over the absolute travesty we would have had otherwise. Because let's be real here, it would have been a whole lot worse. Come on. That's not even up for debate. But as far as the overall health of the game, I think they're doing fine. I think it's fine. Are premium mods, or just mods in general, absolutely like the GOAT of all time for ASA? Yeah. But that's also the appeal of ASA, is that you have, it's cross-platform, right? Cross-platform was one of the things, and then mods on console, which, to my knowledge, of the games I've played, is very, very few and far between. So for the fact that you can finally, on PS5 and on Xbox, you can play with mods. That's really cool. And I think if they continue this area, as far as actually, now that I think about it, if y'all could not do the fantastic teams and make them the most busted thing of all time, that would be cool. Let's not do the Pyromane thing ever again, because that was terrible. I despise the Pyromane. I played with it maybe twice ever, and I didn't even go for good stats or anything. I just spawned one in and checked it out real quick, decided I didn't like it, and whatever, it's $5. It's not the end of the world. But if the fantastic teams could not be this extremely busted thing, that would be really cool. Like the Dreadmare, it's not super powerful, but it is cool looking. I believe the little spider dude, I think, is another one. Is that another? Or is that? Oh no, that's Bob's Tall Tales. Creatures like that actually add to the overall game would be really cool. And also Bison, that's really cool too. And Mega Raptor, super hyped for that. But But for the health of the game, I think they should stay the course. But also, and this is something I said to the donators as well, and I feel like the fan base as a whole has kind of demonized themselves, because there are so many people that complain so much when this breaks, that breaks, and then you got the extreme people, like I said before with Dolly, and that's why they stopped talking to us, right? They stopped talking because the fandom got so angry. So if there could be at least a little bit more transparency despite all that, that would be really good. But that's wishful thinking on my part, and I doubt that it's gonna happen anytime soon. Also, Cedric's back. Hey, welcome back, bro. Good to see you. But as far as Snail actively ruining the game, I think people, now that more stuff is coming out for Aquatica, people are starting to realize that Snail is really not great, and they are a different entity separate from Wildcard. So I feel like that's definitely going to actually help people split apart. Despite it being on ASE, that may bring some life back into that previous game that shouldn't be there in the first place. But, this is also something that I feel like a lot of people are not going to really mess around with much because it's on ASE. Now, I have ASE downloaded, but that is because I have a project in mind that I've already talked about, the fun facts. That's why I have ASE downloaded, not for this schlump that Snail is making. I refuse to support them. But yeah, I refuse. I refuse to play that. I won't be playing that. So if you want to see content on that, go to somebody else. I'm not doing it. I'm going to stick to ASA and support Wildcard because they deserve it. And that's all I really have to say on that. I know I sat on that question for quite some time, but there was like 3 or 4 questions there, and I have a lot to say on that regard. But the final question for the video is actually 2 questions. I don't know how to say it. Prehistoric official, I think, 2241. I don't know how to say your name. I'm sorry. Do you know about my singing monsters? No, I don't. I can actually answer that real fast. I looked into it a little bit. It doesn't look like something I'm really interested in, but I mean, maybe if I was much younger, I would probably be interested in that. But it does look kind of funny looking. Not gonna lie. And what is the most funny / silly art creature in your opinion? Lystro. Lystro, easily. He's just a little guy that just wants to give you XP. Like, what's to love? And I would also say, no, Lystro definitely. But that's a silly guy. Because thinking on all of the creatures, and there's a lot of them, I would say Lystro is the first one to come to mind. And I'm gonna say the dolphin, Ichthyosaurus. He's just a little dude. They're just little dudes. They're just chilling. And the dolphins, they're just curious guys. That's all. They're just adorable. But 18 and a half minutes. I think that's enough for this one. I hope you all did enjoy. Not much in the visual department, except for some edits that'll be on screen, of course. Yeah, that'll do for this video. I hope you all did enjoy. Thank y'all so much for 3,159 subscribers. At the time I've been recording this, that is. Thank y'all so much. I love you all. And I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.